Hello and welcome to Lily's News. Today's Friday. It's 5 p.m., right? 5:02. And we have things to talk about. So you're watching Insane Games TV's YouTube channel. My name is Lily, and this is Lily's News. Hello, Crystalline and the Lone Wanderer's Bunker. How are you? I hope you guys are well. Today we have something really important to talk about. And I don't know. I want to talk about other things, but I don't know if I will have time because there's just so much to say about literally everything in this entire situation. So if you guys have looked at any internet at all in the past week, you have probably seen people talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who is free from jail. She is free, and you might have some questions, you might not, but I thought that it would be a good idea to kind of go through the as quickly as possible, the what happened, and the why we're here and how we got to where we are. Because it's very, very interesting. There's really nothing has happened like this really like ever before. So I think it'll be really good to talk about, and I'm really excited. So let's get into the what happened. So Gypsy Rose Blanchard was born in 1991, and for the first 24 years of her life, she was the victim of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. So her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, used and abused Gypsy, not just for Dee Dee's own fame and fortune, but Munchausen syndrome by proxy is a really difficult mental illness that we haven't really seen at this degree. I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure there's worse situations and worse scenarios of Munchausen by proxy, but this situation is one of the worst that we've been able to see kind of publicly. Now, unfortunately, Dee Dee Blanchard is not with us to share her thoughts or her process of acknowledging or healing or anything like that, and I will tell you why. So when Gypsy Rose was very young, she got hurt, just a minor injury. She had a leg injury. She needed a wheelchair, like the doctors put in her in a wheelchair just for her leg was hurt for a little bit, and this kind of sparked something within Dee Dee to keep it going, because she was able to see like the amount of sympathy and the energy and the response to not just Gypsy but Dee Dee having an injured child. So throughout the next few years, Dee Dee would take Gypsy to many a doctor. She would claim cancers and asthma and brain damage, and Gypsy would end up getting surgeries and medications, and just overall suffering throughout her day-to-day life. She was removed from school from the second grade, so then she continued, I guess, homeschooling in a sense. Dee Dee would tell Gypsy that she wasn't going to survive past 14, past 16, past 18. So Dee Dee was essentially a prisoner of her own home. Gypsy was a prisoner of her own home due to Dee Dee's mental illness. Really, really unfortunate, really, really scary situations. It got to the point where they had a feeding tube put into Gypsy. Dee Dee was able to convince doctors that she wasn't able to eat, that she wasn't nourishing her body well enough, and that a feeding tube was necessary. And when you have a feeding tube, there's access to what goes into that feeding tube 24/7, and you are not awake 24/7. So there was sort of like claims, allegations that Dee Dee would put things into Gypsy's feeding tube when she was sleeping, or with the foods, the mixtures that would go in there. She didn't know all the things that she was taking. A major point of note for Gypsy currently is that she still has her like metal fillings in her mouth. And there's a lot of them. And she also has some dentures as well. And the whole teeth situation, if you watched The Act on Hulu, they depict the Gypsy losing her teeth for one reason, and Dee Dee pulling them out. What happened was that Dee Dee would have Gypsy in doctor's offices drooling by putting Orajel in her mouth, on her tongue, on her teeth, before they were going into doctors to feign some sort of illness. And the doctors, I guess, did not do enough digging to find out the reason or cause of the incessant drooling. And so they removed her salivary glands. This in turn causes the body to do really crazy things, because your mouth is like its own little home. You have your mouth is like its own little safe space. And so when you remove the salivary glands, your teeth start to rot and fall out and need to be removed. So Gypsy suffered a lot of dental damage from that as well, which is incredibly unfortunate. And her being in prison for the last 8 years, I do expect her to go through some sort of intense dental rehabilitation soon, now that she is out. I foresee that in the future for sure. So that's why she doesn't have a lot of good teeth left in her mouth. When so there's this thing, I don't know if you guys have seen it's like a news blooper from like forever ago, and this news anchor was referring to someone named Deidre, and she said Dee Dee Mega Doo-Doo, and it's the only thing that I hear in my head when I hear Dee Dee. So I keep thinking about it. So don't say Dee Dee Mega Doo-Doo out loud, was my goal for the day, and it's not working. So when Gypsy got older, she didn't really know how old she was. Dee Dee was able to make Gypsy believe that she was younger than she actually was. You know, when she was 14, she told her she was 12. When Gypsy was actually 16, she told her she was, 13, maybe 14. That there was many different like copies of different articles of like listings, like birth certificates and stuff like that. So Gypsy didn't really know how old she was. I'm surprised the doctors didn't do more digging. Yes, there has been many interviews with many of Gypsy's doctors throughout her life and experience with growing up in a house of Munchausen by proxy, and a lot of the doctors didn't do any digging. There was one doctor who did do a little digging. He did call CPS on Dee Dee Mega Doo-Doo, and CPS did go to the house, but there was never any follow-up to the initial visit. Dee Dee was able to manipulate and force Gypsy to live her life in a wheelchair and silently. Dee Dee was violent in some really awfully scary ways. And when anyone was having a conversation with Dee Dee and Gypsy together, there's the photos, which is it's overwhelming. The photos of Dee Dee and Gypsy hand in hand or arm in arm, and whenever Gypsy was saying anything that her mom didn't want her to say, she would squeeze her hand or like squeeze her shoulders, make it known like, shut up, don't blow my cover, essentially. Even though Gypsy at this point, as a young teenaged human being, has been brainwashed and manipulated to believe that it is all true, before she started realizing, like, I can walk, I'm not sick, I don't have cancer, you're just shaving my head. you're making me sick from all these pills that I don't need to take. So I'm going to run away. Gypsy attempted a runaway event, and it didn't end well for her. She was found within hours through mutual friends. The story goes that Gypsy and Dee Dee went to like a Comic-Con situation, like locally to them, and that some guy like bumped into her and they, said hellos, and he ended up following Gypsy online because she had like a secret Facebook account, and then they planned like a runaway. Well, it turned out that Dee Dee and that guy had mutual friends. They found them, and she brought Gypsy back home and was like, you were punished, and I am going to tie you to the bed. You are going to be chained up. You are going to be physically more held captive at this point. And it took weeks for Gypsy to get back into her mom's good graces, to find solace again, like on the internet, because Gypsy was learning like there's a computer and there's this internet and this world outside of my home. There was one doctor that did the CPS call, but there was nothing that, there's no follow-up, unfortunately, for Gypsy. And there's been multiple pieces of media made, documentaries and whatnot about this entire story, and they do interview some doctors, and there are some marks here and there about, illnesses or diseases that don't exist, that Dee Dee has been claiming that they do. And there was one mark of Munchausen by proxy, but it was never followed up on. It was never handled by anybody. All of the friends, all of the family members never made a phone call to anyone at all, ever. And, nothing happened until Gypsy was 24 years old, and that was because she found a friend online. And she got close to him, and his name was Nick Godejohn. And Nick Godejohn had his own plate of issues that he was living with and dealing with. This man has a history and a past. One of them was in like an 8 or 9 hour stint in a McDonald's watching, X-rated videos in a McDonald's all day long. So we had that on his record. He is on the autism spectrum, and he has like some violent tendencies, I would say, which is very interesting that these two fell together. They met on like a Christian singles meeting website of some sorts, and she was smitten and he was smitten, and they started talking. And the only thing that Gypsy had to talk about was her life. The only thing she had to talk about was her life and growing up. She didn't have anything else. All she had was Disney movies and how the knight in shining armor will come and save the day and rescue the princess. And Gypsy was a princess. There are so many photos of Gypsy with a big smile on her face and in a big princess dress, in a big dress. I worry for Gypsy. What if she does this to her own child because it was the norm? I don't know if she would do it, but she had the capacity to organize M-word. Don't know if we have talked about this, but both mother and daughter went to jail. I will get to your first comment in a little bit, Lone Wanderer, for sure, because that's definitely a topic of conversation lately. The mother, she might have done a little bit of jail time. I'm not 100% sure, but Dee Dee was wanted. She was a wanted person. She did have her own past, writing bad checks. I think she was like on America's Most Wanted list. Like, she was a wanted person. Fraud, writing bad checks, I believe, were like two of the reasons for sure. She was able to lie. I mean, Dee Dee wasn't telling the truth. She was able to lie her way through Gypsy being sick for forever. And unfortunately, Katrina hit, and they lost medical records. And so unfortunately for Gypsy, but fortunately for Dee Dee, she was able to kind of restart in a new state with a blank slate. So it was kind of like, for Dee Dee, it was like, we did it, you know, like I'm still in, like, I'm still in the game type of energy, which was frustrating. But I'll circle back to a little more about Dee Dee in a little bit. Nick Godejohn, not a good person, and I think it's safe to say that. He was able to pull Gypsy out of childhood. He shared with her that he self-professed had multiple personalities, and one was like a 500-year-old vampire. Okay, vampire. Yeah, I don't know if you're 500-year-old vampire. Well, so that's cool. And he had violent tendencies. He wanted pictures of Gypsy and like homemade, you know, like low-level cosplays of different characters. He took Gypsy from being a child to a young adult through learning about, you know, sexuality. I don't want to say learning about her sexuality. I think it was more of a lesson of what she doesn't like. But I'm not her, and those questions they don't need to be answered by anybody. But she learned what she doesn't like. In what I've seen lately, she made it clear that she wasn't ever really happy in those moments. Like, she didn't really enjoy it, but it was all different, and it was all learning, and it was all an experience, like taking pictures and talking. And there was an instance with Nick's ex-girlfriend reaching out to Gypsy, because this was all done on like secret Facebooks and like the dating profile chats and everything. And then it went to like texting. And there was his ex-girlfriend reached out to Gypsy and was like, you know, hey, like, he's crazy, like, don't do it. And she's like, you're just a jealous ex-girlfriend, which, God, I wish she heeded that warning a little bit more. Gypsy wanted someone to be her knight in shining armor, and she straight up asked Nick, like, would you protect me? Like, are you going to protect me? And he was like, yeah, sure. And she's like, even against my mom, like, protect me from my mother. And he's like, yeah, bet. And so they delve into that. Okay, how would you protect me from my mom? What's going on? Where was Gypsy's father when all this was happening? So Gypsy, when Dee Dee got pregnant, she was in her like mid-20s. She told the father of Gypsy that she was like 21. Gypsy's father was like 17, I believe, when Dee Dee got pregnant. And he got Dee Dee pregnant. And he said, you know what, let's get married. Let's do it, air quotes, the right way. There's no right or wrong way. But, you know, little Southern boy, he says, all right, I got you pregnant. Let's do it the right way. I'm going to get married. And then said, no, I can't do this. This is not for me. And he stepped away from Dee Dee. And he also found out that she was lying about her age to him as well. But he didn't want to leave Gypsy. He makes it very clear that he messed up about that. Like, he wasn't there when Gypsy needed him. But he wanted to be there. But Dee Dee made it very clear that she didn't want him involved, because I feel like the more cooks in the kitchen, the faster something goes wrong. She didn't want him outing her and keeping her, like, she didn't want him to be part of the secret of Gypsy being sick and not really being sick. There's a story that he tells of, he called Dee Dee and Gypsy on Gypsy's 18th birthday to wish her happy birthday, as a father who isn't in the house should. And he claims that Dee Dee said to her to not tell her that she's 18 because she doesn't know, and that she has such a low life expectancy that it will make her freak out. So he didn't say anything. So he got kind of strung along with the whole lying scenario as well. And he has made it very clear that he has many regrets about the whole thing. But he is very much in Gypsy's life now, which I think is good. She needs a support system, and what better than your own father? And his wife, her stepmom, is a major player in her support currently as well. So Nick and Gypsy get to the point where they are planning out the unaliving of Gypsy's mom. Through text message, everything just escalates and escalates and escalates. They planned to have Nick sneak in the house. There was a knife that Gypsy actually stole from Walmart. They were like in the store and she snagged a knife. And that Gypsy was going to hide in the bathroom with her ears covered, and Nick was going to go unalive her mother. And then they were going to run away together. And what ended up happening is that Nick did that. He unalived Dee Dee in her bed. Gypsy was in the bathroom with her ears covered. She could still hear Dee Dee. It's very this is harsh. It's very gives me the chills. And then Nick wanted to abuse Dee Dee's deceased body in a way that someone who watches X-rated films at McDonald's would want to. And Gypsy begged and pleaded with him not to, and to do it to her instead, which, wow. I mean, like, really let that soak in. Like, you're in the moment, like you're in your house, and your boyfriend just did what he did, and he's now saying that I want to, like, R-word your mother, and you are now like, don't do that. Like, I don't want you to do that. But your only brain functionality is to like, well, if he wants to do it, he's got to do it to something. So do it to me. And don't, you know what? Don't imagine. Don't try to be in that headspace. That's terrifying. Don't do that. Why did I say that? Don't do that. Don't do that. Just recognize that that's some next level shit that is absolute bonkers, and I could never. And I hope no one ever's. Like, I hope no one ever is in that. Oh my God. Anywho, she shaves her legs, and they skedaddle. Now, interesting enough, they thought it was a really good idea to mail the knife to themselves, and they didn't leave town. Now, when them getting caught is if I was one of their neighbors and I was watching the news, it's so disgusting, Crystal, and it's next level disturbing. If I was one of their neighbors and I was watching the news as oh my God, I almost forgot the biggest point in that whole thing. After she was passed, Gypsy went onto Dee Dee's Facebook page and posted, "That bitch is dead," which sent the frenzy. Like, what the hell are you talking about, Dee Dee? Like, what do you mean, Dee Dee? And so there's the finding of Dee Dee in her bed. There's Gypsy missing, her wheelchair still at home, and then like Nick Godejean just also there. They could imagine being the neighbors of someone who is like house ridden, wheelchair ridden, like doesn't do anything, like always has a bald head, looks frail, is weak, has a little high pitched voice, and then on the news it's like, mom found dead in bedroom, child missing, like whoa. And then like the next day you see the security footage at like the bus stop or hotel or whatever, and it's like this girl that you've only ever seen in a wheelchair, like weak and frail, and she's like walking walking with a friend, like with a friend at that point, and it's just like 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 what, the absolute psychosis. Hey brew nerd, how are you? The absolute psychosis is like the delusion that she was existing in is so, it's like, it's visceral. Like it was so real in her head that it was okay. Lurking at the brewery. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks for popping in. I love it. Very interesting. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a psychologist. I am not a therapist. I will never be. But thinking and like imagining that moment, like what is a human experiencing, knowing that their internet boyfriend just did that, and now you're like, let's run away together, like some fucked up Disney movie. It's crazy. So they get caught. Gypsy tries to play off like, oh my god, she's dead, oh my god, and the cops are like, don't lie to me. I'm not, like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm tired. Like, I want to clock out. Don't lie to me. And she's like, okay, I won't lie. And Nicholas was very quick to be like, no, yeah, I did it. Yeah, no, I wanted to do the next thing, but I didn't. Nope. Like, it was very, like, all right, well, that was easy. Like, y'all didn't plan anything. Other than just doing it. Like, there was no afterthought or forethought of the after. It was just absolute insanity. So Gypsy gets, life was on the table for Gypsy. Then the extenuating circumstances came up in the courtroom, and it went down to 10 years with 85% needing to be served. So she's was released December 28th of 2023, which was, I think, even just a little shy of the 85%. But she got out. She got, maybe it was like right on time. Anywho, she was released on parole. Now, Nick Godejohn is serving a life sentence in prison. No chance for parole. He's not coming out at all, ever. And you know what? That's where we leave him. Like, that's where we just leave him, because I mean, I hope he's getting some mental health help. I hope they have, I don't know. I wish you the best, Nick. God damn. But Gypsy is out. She walked free. Now, something interesting that happened to her, and has been a topic of conversation around Gypsy Rose, who is now free from jail, was how she is free from jail, but also married, and has been married for about 1.5 years. So Gypsy Rose got married in jail, but not to her very first fiance while in prison. She had almost 300 different love letters, from just people all over the world saying, I love you, be my wife, I'll come visit you in jail, and we can have jail time together. Crazy. She read one of these love letters, and it was from a man called, what is his name? Ryan Anderson is his name. Ryan Anderson. And he was from Louisiana. And so Gypsy was like, I'm from Louisiana. So sorry. That was extremely offensive accent. I'm from Louisiana, so we have something in common. Come meet me. And so they met up, and Ryan says it was love at first sight. Let me pull up a picture so you guys can see. Gypsy? Oh, Instagram. Let's just go to their Instagram. It had to be a better way for Gypsy handle the situation with her mother. We could just run away. I'll call the cops. Yeah, okay, so you know what, Leah, let's talk about that before we get into Gypsy now. I think we were talking about that a little bit in the studio a couple days ago. I think that Gypsy, yes, I think she could have contacted the police. but I think she was well aware of how strong and how well Dee Dee can manipulate people. Dee Dee manipulated doctors from all over. Dee Dee manipulated the I wanted to say Humane Society. It's not Habitat for Humanity. Stop. She manipulated Habitat for Humanity to build Gypsy like a house, like a whole ass house. It's not offensive to me. I live in Louisiana, but I'm not a native. My mother-in-law talks that way first thing in the morning. She tries not to talk that way because she used to get teased. I know it's terrible, but you can hear in the documentaries. You can hear the fantastic like Bayou accent that some of Gypsy's family has. And I think it is one of the most amazing accents that we could get in like the States. I think it's absolutely incredible. Like there's so much inside of like, like the Bayou accent. It's so cool. I mean, I love it. I love it. I think Gypsy could have called 911, but I think that she understood at that point in her early 20s of how powerful Dee Dee's manipulation tactics are. When she tried to run away, she was tied down to her bed for weeks. Her mom slept in the bed with her. They were tied together. So if Gypsy moved, she moved. She would know. Like if Gypsy rolled over in bed, she would know. I do think she could have tried. I do. Did she try? No, she did not try. Do I think anyone that came in contact with Gypsy, should have seen a problem? Yes, I do. I don't know. This is hard. This is where the toughness of this comes in, because I feel like Dee Dee and Gypsy were going down a road. They were on the path to, it's either me or you. For sure. Like I can't see a different path that they would have gone down. I don't see it. Do I think Gypsy chose, well, it's gonna be me and not you in the wrong way? Yes. like murder is not, it should never be the first option. Gypsy never had the space with doctors to say something's wrong, except for one time with the doctor that called CPS, and he made note in his interview that she specifically had a one-on-one conversation with him, and he asked her, is everything okay? And she said yes. That would have been a great moment to be like, no, it's not okay. I don't need a feeding tube. I can walk. I'm fine. To be fair, you don't see a problem when you're not looking for one, or you're not a professional. Very true. You can't see what you don't know. Very true. And I think that from a parental standpoint, I think if the father, and I don't want to put it all on Gypsy's dad. I don't want to do that. And like, so the lone wanderer, fair point. I think people could have seen or may not have seen any issues, but also a random person you met at a movie theater or something and you feel off, or you're sensing something's off. Is it your place to make note or make contact with someone who could dig a little deeper? Is that your place? Like, do you feel like that's your place? Like, do you have a sense? Do you, like, if you did even like have like uncontrollable, like there's something wrong, I need to call somebody. Is anyone what CPS going to believe a random person that they saw, like, Are they going to do their work after you do yours? All that. It's like a whole slew of things. Now, for the father, if this is true, which I don't know if it is, it's just one person's retelling of a story that the other person cannot tell because they are dead. If it is true that when he called to say happy 18th birthday to Gypsy and she said, don't say 18, don't tell her age, I feel like that could be a little alarm bell, like a little tiny red flag could be waving. That's just my opinion. I feel like that's a little bit of a red flag. Like, what do you mean don't tell my daughter happy 18th birthday on her 18th birthday? But then again, that just shows how good Dee Dee was at manipulating and like very quick brainwashing. Like, she was on the ball. She was able to come up with something believable and like comfortable that even the dad was like, okay, I won't. Yes, it is. Yes, if you see something, is your place to say. I've had this argument about calling the cops of clear abuse in these mega church families. Oh, yes. Oh, I would love to talk about mega church families. They are stuck in a bubble with no help. So yes. If I see someone like, they got like the guy said three black eyes. They got two black eyes, and they're walking around the mall, and they're clearly next to somebody, and there's fear in their body. Absolutely say something. This is such a strange, to me, this is a situation where Dee Dee was able to make Gypsy look so pathetic, in her wheelchair. Like, she had the shaved head. She was so scrawny. She was in the wheelchair. She had this, the big Cinderella dresses on, and she was able to make it feel like this is like every outing was like a Make-A-Wish event for Gypsy. So it was like they would go to the movies a lot. So it was always like they're going to the movies. Da, da, da. So I don't know. I don't know if I would, if I saw them, like from any pictures that I've seen like online and in docs and stuff. If I saw them, I don't know if I would feel like something was off to even have the urge to say, maybe someone should do some checking on that, because I would probably fall in line with being manipulated by Dee Dee's actions to think like, poor baby, it hurts my heart to see kids that sick and that, that unwell. That's sad. Like, kids shouldn't be sick like that. Like I would probably fall right in line with everybody else, wishing the young girl in the wheelchair well. So, I don't know. But I don't know. I think that I know for sure that the doctors failed Gypsy in the biggest way. Any doctor that came in contact with Gypsy, like the one who removed her salivary glands, should be so ashamed. It's not a doctor's job to believe mom, right? It's a doctor's job to believe the science and the tests and the truth in front of them. And that is what is really extremely disappointing to me. It is not a doctor's job to believe mom. But also, doctors are human, and they too just saw a frail, sick, young little girl who had just another thing wrong that needed to be fixed. I don't know. I don't even know, Like, I don't even know, But what I do know is that the doctors did no good thing. Hey, Glenn S., how are you? We're just digging deep into the thoughts of how the world failed Gypsy Rose Blanchard. But yeah, I think it's very sad what happened. But what happened is what happened. And there's no going back and like undoing it. And Gypsy Rose has done her time for assisting with the murder of her mother. Black Queen 777, the story is so sad. It really is so sad. But I think, so now we're at the point where Gypsy is free. And it's time to turn the sadness around and turn it into not just forgiveness, but like a time to share. Gypsy's able to share her story in her way. She's able to make sure people know what I did was not right. It was not the right way to go about it. I don't have like a set, well, she should have done this, she should have done this, she should have done this. I don't have that. But what I do know is that she should not have fallen in love with the boy who said, well, I'll kill your mom for you. That's all I know, is that shouldn't have happened. That's an option. That's a thing that's like, no, we don't just fall in love with the boy that says, I'll help you kill your mom. Where's the knife? So we don't do that. Like, that should be not an option. And I was having this thought, I was having this conversation before I'm like, move on. Sorry. It's just like, I just need to get all the things out of my head. If Dee Dee and Gypsy were going at it, like they were having a battle, they were having a fight, they were having a discourse. And if Gypsy protected herself from Dee Dee and Dee Dee ended up being unalived, right? This would be a completely different situation. This would be an absolutely completely different situation. Glenn says, a big red flag. This would be such a completely different situation. But the fact that she snuck a man into her home and he's the one who did it, because like I said, in my opinion, the only road they were going down was the it's either you or me road. That was the only way. That was the only way things, in my opinion, were going to end regardless. I don't think it would have ended in any other way, honestly. And that's not saying, oh, I hoped one of them ended in a murder. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But the way it was going, it was getting so deep, it was getting so big. She was 24 years old. She was 24 years old, and she was still being treated like a child, like a little tiny, really sick baby. Like, you have cancer, you're gonna die soon. Okay. Anywho, she's free. She's out. She wrote an ebook. I started reading it. I'll let you know when I finish. It's not that long, but I'm a busy gal. She wrote an ebook. She has a Lifetime 3-part series documentary that she filmed in prison and a little bit of after prison about her time in prison and her story. And I think it's a good watch. It's an interesting watch. We get introduced to her husband that she married in jail. And she's now free, and oh my God, I'm so sorry. She's now free, and she is living her life on social media. She has taken social media by storm. I mean, by fucking hurricane, tornado, thunder, snowstorm. I mean, 9 million followers on Instagram or something like that. 6-7 million followers on TikTok in a flash. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of comments and likes, everything. People are watching every single thing this girl does. And I am not okay with it. I am not okay with this. This is the last. So I have 15, 20 minutes left. I want to get to 2 things, not 4, 2 things. Okay. I want to get to my thoughts, my opinions on her husband and how they have been handling themselves and carrying themselves. But first I have to talk about her social media appearances. And I'm saying appearances because she is appearing fucking everywhere. Okay, this girl is she got out of jail at the prison. Let's say prison. I keep saying jail. It's just easier to say jail for me on my tongue. Jail, prison, jail, prison. She got out of prison at 3:30 in the damn morning, and by noon the next day, she was blowing up. I'm surprised she doesn't have security. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure she does right now, Glenn, because so before she even got out of prison, she signed a contract with Lifetime. Her husband had Lifetime cameras in his car documenting everything. Lifetime is following her around with cameras, with crew, with this and that, all the people, all the mics, documenting her life out of prison. Because Lifetime was the one who did her voices, I don't know, words. I'm speaking about everything from prison. And they're going to do a follow-up with her post-prison. So they are following her around. So I'm pretty sure she does have like at least one or two folks there that can help play security for her. So she is everywhere. She has cameras following her around. She's doing interviews like Good Morning America, Joy Behar. She's doing Entertainment Weekly, ET, E News. She was on Nick Vile's podcast, which who the fuck was able to book that for him? All I have to say, he's like he was on Bachelor and now he has a podcast, and like the very first podcast she does is Nick Vile podcast, bro. Lifetime the channel, yes. And so they are everywhere. And when I say everywhere, it's not just Gypsy's everywhere. It's her husband is everywhere too. Her husband is right by her side. What is he doing? Always hand in hand or shoulder in shoulder, arm in arm. Just like her mother was. This is where, so we get it. She's everywhere. She's on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. She's everywhere. She's talking. She's doing the thing. She's getting her makeup done. She's getting her hair done. She's getting fun clothes. She's doing the thing. She went to New York City. She saw this. She got an I Love New York t-shirt, and I was like, okay, queen, go off. Like, that's a slay. She's like, look at all these tall buildings. She's living. She's experiencing. She's ticking things off of her bucket list, which I appreciate and I can understand and I can support and I'm here for. I get that. Absolutely. Live your life. You are free from your past. You are free from your time. You are on parole, but you are able to experience life once and for all. Your childhood and early 20s was completely squashed. The Lone Wanderer's Bunker. I am on a rant. Okay. I am a Lone Wanderer Bunker. You should have seen me Wednesday on my lottery channel. I went off, honey. I went off. So she's doing what she wants to do. She did the bad. She paid her time. She can live. But unfortunately, in my opinion, this is all my opinion. Okay? In my opinion, she's still not free. Okay? And like, of course, what happened was terrible, but she did her time. Her court-ordered time, she did her time. Okay? She did her dues. Glenn's like, I was there. She did her dues. She paid her time. She did it all. Let her be free. But she has been married for a year and a half as she walked out of prison in 3:30 in the fucking morning, and then she went and stayed at some I don't know, Quality Inn, and then is now traveling out and about, and she's hanging out with her family, which is great. I love that she has her blood, her family, her close old time friends there for her. I love that. That makes me happy for her. But her husband is also there because, did I mention that she's been married for a year and a half? And this is what they say. I'm not going to play anything because, it makes me mad. This is what they say. We're not newly married, but we're newly together. I'm sorry. We're not newly married, but we're newly together because you've been married for a year and a half when you were in prison. Okay. And now, like, I have thoughts about it. She spent her entire first 24 years on this earth being hovered over by her mother. Every breath she took was monitored. They removed her fucking salivary glands to make sure she stayed ill. Right? Her mom controlled every single thing that she ate, she drank, she did, she went, she saw, she laughed, she cried. Every single thing that she did, her mom was there. Gypsy made note that the best day of her life, no, was not getting married, was the day she walked into prison. The day she walked into prison, because she could breathe. She could exist. She could make decisions on her own. Not what's for lunch, because that's to the canteen. But like, she could make decisions. She could talk to people. She was meeting other women that were not just motherly, but sisterly and friendly and cousinly. They were all, they enriched her life and taught her so many things, like how to use a fucking tampon, because she's 24 years old and she didn't know how to do that. Okay? She was free. That's the best day of her life. Who lets someone get married while you're in jail? That's a really great question. Honestly, I don't know. So now that she's out of jail, okay, like, my heart is pumping. Now that she's out of prison, she is married. And almost every single photo or every single TikTok or every single or every single her husband is there. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I don't know the man. I'll never know the man. I don't want to know the man. Honestly, I mean, if you want to have a conversation, you could reach out to me if you see this for some reason, which I feel like you might be a Gypsy Rose Blanchard, like, internet watcher also, bro. But anywho, if you want to reach out and like share your story, go right ahead. But you, Sir Ryan, I believe is your name, married a girl who is now in her 30s. In prison, and she has never experienced the world on her own. And I'm not saying she has to be alone to experience the world. She has never experienced the world making her own decisions. She's experienced prison. Who lets someone get married? And are you glad or mad she's out? I'm glad she's out. She served her time. The court said, do this amount of time for the crime that you did. She served her time. She got out on parole. I'm glad she's out. And I honestly do legitimately only wish the best for her. I hope she is able to thrive. I hope she's comfortable. I hope she can learn and experience the world just like anybody else, because she didn't get a single drop of world experience for the first 24 years of her life. So I am glad she's out. I hate what she did. Yes, Crystalline, she should go find herself before getting married. And my fear is that she got married, and before she got married, it was drama. Mind you, she's in prison. I don't get, how can you be in prison and have relationship drama? Like, how can there be like drama being like, you're spilling the tea in prison, bro? Like, you are in prison. You have more drama in your life than I do, and you're in prison. I'm boring. I just look up things and I want to talk about it. That's all I want to do. But that's crazy to me. And so she's never experienced like getting on the subway with just friends. You know, she's never experienced going out to dinner alone. I feel like as a human, you have to like experience like things by yourself. You have to experience things with friends. You have to experience things maybe with a boyfriend, but you got a ring on it. Right? Like you're together, you know? You're not just like, oh, together. You're together, legally signed papers together. And my problem with this is that he doesn't go away ever. He's always there. The Nick Viall podcast, they talk to her and then they fucking bring him out. Why? Why does this big man, no offense, he's tall. He's really tall. He's like 6'4" or something. This tall man, he was a little big, but this tall man, why does he got to come out and have a conversation? You're not the one that just did 8.5 years in prison for convincing a guy with problems to murder your mother. You're just married to her. Why are you always there? Why are you always touching her? Why are you always holding her hand? Why are you calling her? Why are you love bombing her? He is love bombing her. You should try and tour Lilly. Sure, you could sell out some arenas. I have so many thoughts. I would love to tour. She could have went back to school or something, take up a trade. Yes, before she got married, there was like a little interview that came out when she was in prison. She had short hair. And she said, I just want to be a normal person. I just want to go get a job at like Walmart or something and just live a normal human life. Bitch, you got so many followers. It's crazy. And I get it, make that bread. Like you're coming out from prison with nothing. I mean, you have a signed contract from Lifetime, which I heard rumors was like 100K. So does Mr. Ryan want some of that 100K? Is that what you want? Do you want your own little 15 minutes of fame? Because no one's watching Gypsy Rose for you, sir. They're just watching Gypsy Rose for Gypsy Rose. Because those people who are following, that are watching, that are like on there commenting every video, every post, everything, they want Gypsy Rose to succeed in life. They don't want her. She got her GED. She could go to school if she wants to. She could do this if she wants to. She could do this if she wants to. She said she wants Millie Bobby Brown to play her in like the docuseries about her life or whatever. Or like the biopic of her life. And I'm like, that's great. That's adorable. That's so great. She was not isolated like completely from the world. She came out knowing some things. Does she know like slang and stuff like that? No, but she knows Millie Bobby Brown. She knows that there was issues with the whole Joey King playing her in The Act on Hulu. She's aware of all of these things. She wasn't isolated. She could watch movies and watch TV and talk and get letters and this and that and all this stuff. She hasn't experienced the outside world on her own. And this man is hovering. And when I say hovering, I mean hovering. Interjecting. Hovering. And it makes me so mad and sad that she is now getting the questions, well, when are you going to have a baby? Not when are you going to get on Tinder or whatever, when are you going to start dating? It's when are you going to have a baby? This woman has never gone to a bank and opened a savings account and they're asking her when she's going to have a baby. What do you mean, bro? What do you mean? That's crazy. I don't know if she's ever seen like Parks and Rec, I don't think like she has so much to take in, and people are asking her, when are you going to have a baby? And then of course the conversation, like the Lone Wanderer said before, I told you I was going to come back to it, is about, you're so triggered. I'm so triggered right now because it makes me so absolutely frustrated for this person. She did a batch, she did her time, and now she's locked in to this man who's like 5 years older than her, which is fine. Age gap doesn't matter to me, but he's old enough to know that she needs a minute. Give her a minute. Like, give her a minute. Because if you really, like, if you loved her, let her go, bro. If you loved her, let her go. Let her breathe. Let her experience. Let her thrive. So about the kids, I'll end on. There's been a lot of talk about, if she has a kid or multiple kids, how is she going to raise them? All I know is that she knows what not to do to a child. She may not know the best way to raise a kid, but she knows how to not raise a kid. And I've seen a lot of people having the conversations like she's going to do the same thing to her kid. We're worried that could happen. That's an opportunity. Absolutely. I think she needs some, mental health help. She needs a therapist. She needs, she probably needs a couple of them. She needs to heal. She needs to find her ground. She needs to understand, what happened, how it happened. She needs to process through all of that. And then if she wants to have a kid, I'm sure all eyes will be on her, but I think, and I hope, I cross my fingers, that she will take what her mom did extremely seriously while raising a child. And if she wants to have a kid, I hope she's able to have kids. And no. I don't wish her unwell, but I do wish Ryan would take a step back, because golly, it's coming off a little desperate, my guy. So yeah, so that's Gypsy Rose. She wrote a book. What's it called? It's called Released, Gypsy Rose. So those are my thoughts on Gypsy Rose. It's tough. It's like, I can't think about it too much, because I can't think about like, oh, what should have happened, because like what happened, you know. So that's that. But anywho, you know, that I don't know. I hope she's good. The bubble will burst for sure. And I hope the internet is kind to Gypsy, because she deserves kindness. It was a rarity in her life when she was young. Kindness from her mother. So I think the internet so far, I think, has been okay. There's been some iffy things, but I think it's all kind of rushed by. But I think if the internet keeps up good with her, I think she could really turn her life into, you know, being a shining light on what not to do, and a reminder to those, if you are in a situation like hers, don't take the same route she did, because she doesn't think it was the right route, you know. So that's that. Do you guys have any thoughts, chat? Do you have any thoughts that you want to share before we go? Because boy, oh boy, am I right? I don't know. I will definitely be keeping an eye on Gypsy Rose. And if anything majorly happens, but she's making that bread. She's got to make some money. She doesn't have any. She came out of prison, you know, with nothing. She doesn't get money on the act or documentaries and stuff. You can't make money on your story when you are in prison. So, she wasn't even spoken to when the act was being produced on Hulu. You can watch it. It's not all accurate. There's a lot of inaccuracies, but it is a very compelling drama. I think Joey King won a lot of awards for it too. So yeah. All right, you guys. I'm gonna go. And now that's off. You know, I talked about it. I covered it. I did it. We'll do some check-ins, but other than that, I'm gonna go. Okay, you guys be good. I will see you guys next Friday. I will be live on my Lily's Lottery channel, I believe at 8 p.m. tonight, if you guys want to pop over there. Other than that, I will see you guys next Friday. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for chatting. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you are well. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And I'll catch you next week, where we'll talk about family vloggers and their children. Ooh, that sounded weird. Okay, see you later, guys. Bye.